The golden illusion. The flash of cameras. The whispers of admiration. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard weren't just another celebrity couple. They were Hollywood's fantasy made real. He, the enigmatic legend with decades of blockbuster magic behind him. She, the rising star with sharp features, a defiant voice, and magnetic allure. When they walked red carpets hand in hand, it was as if time paused. Two beautiful people suspended in the glow of stardom. But behind the glimmer of flashbulbs and magazine covers, something far less glamorous was beginning to take shape. They met on the set of The Rum Diary in 2009. On screen, they played lovers. Off-screen, sparks flew almost immediately. Johnny, older by more than 2 decades, had just stepped out of a long-term relationship. Amber, fresh-faced and ambitious, seemed both intrigued by his chaos and undaunted by it. By 2012, they were quietly dating. In 2015, they were married. For a moment, it looked like the start of something lasting. The world bought into the illusion. Headlines spoke of passion, of romance, of artistic connection. But those closest to them spoke in hushed tones about volatility, mood swings, and moments of silence that lingered too long. Johnny was known for his eccentricities. He was a man of many faces. Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, the Mad Hatter. But privately, he wrestled with old demons, past traumas, a dependency on substances he didn't deny. Yet those close to him described a soft-spoken soul, someone more introverted than indulgent. Amber, on the other hand, was driven, a champion of causes, fearless on panels and red carpets. But there were glimpses of control, of stormy emotions that would later become public knowledge. Friends noted the way she seemed to mold the environment around her. Quick to charm, quicker to challenge. The marriage didn't last long. By 2016, Heard filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order, claiming Depp had been physically abusive. The press exploded. Johnny denied everything. Amber stood firm. The world split in two. One side saw a woman standing up to her abuser. The other saw a man being destroyed by a false narrative. But what if both were trapped in something darker than either had prepared for? What if beneath the surface of their romance was a mutual unraveling? Two people clinging to each other as they both fell apart. This wasn't just a breakup. It wasn't just a lawsuit. It was the start of a cultural fault line, one that would soon crack wide open. The world thought they had seen the worst, but the real story, the raw, painful truth, was only just beginning to reveal itself. Love on trial. In December 2018, Amber Heard published an op-ed in the Washington Post. She didn't mention Johnny Depp by name, but the implication was unmistakable. She called herself a public figure representing domestic abuse, spoke of institutions that protect powerful men, and reignited a firestorm that had barely cooled. The headlines returned, more vicious and polarizing than ever before. But this time, Johnny didn't stay silent. He filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Amber in early 2019, stating that her accusations were not only false, but had irreparably damaged his career and reputation. Studios distanced themselves. Projects collapsed. Depp, once Hollywood royalty, was now seen as a pariah. The man who had entertained generations suddenly found himself fighting for the right to be heard. Amber didn't back down. She countersued for $100 million, claiming Johnny's denials were a smear campaign designed to silence her. Thus began one of the most volatile and high-profile celebrity legal battles in modern memory. Courtrooms, depositions, and leaked evidence became the new battleground. It wasn't just a defamation case anymore. It was a fight over who would control the narrative. Amber detailed horrifying accounts of abuse, bruises, broken glass, threats, and manipulation. She painted Johnny as a monster fueled by drugs and alcohol, a man whose charm disguised something sinister. The public was stunned. For some, her words were brave and heartbreaking. For others, they were inconsistent, exaggerated, or strategically framed. Then came Johnny's side of the story. In audio recordings, Amber could be heard admitting to hitting him. Witnesses, security guards, assistants, even medical professionals testified to his injuries and her outbursts. Suddenly, the image of a helpless victim began to blur. Was this really the straightforward case the media had portrayed? Supporters rallied. Hashtag Justice for Johnny trended on social media. Others stood by Amber, insisting that abuse doesn't always look the same and that victims come in many forms. The lines were drawn, but the truth remained elusive, buried beneath media spin and emotional chaos. Their love story had mutated into a spectacle, televised, dissected, and debated in every corner of the internet. Fans became jurors. Commentators became judges. And still, the real cost was unfolding in silence. Two careers fading, reputation shattered, and trust, once fragile, now destroyed. This wasn't just about defamation. It was about power, control, and the fragility of truth in a world addicted to outrage. By the end of this chapter, it was no longer clear who was the victim, or whether either of them truly escaped the roles they claimed to play. The Courtroom Circus. Fairfax County, Virginia, May 2022. A courtroom transformed into a global stage. Cameras rolled, millions watched, and the private unraveling of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard became public theater. This wasn't justice in its traditional form. It was spectacle, raw and unfiltered. Johnny Depp took the stand first. Dressed in tailored suits and speaking softly, he recounted a lifetime of pain. His troubled childhood, his struggles with addiction, and most critically, his version of the relationship with Amber. His words were measured, often emotional, never overtly vicious. He didn't deny imperfection. He didn't portray himself as flawless. But he drew a line. "I've never struck a woman in my life," he said, voice steady. Amber's team painted a different picture. Of a man spiraling into rage under the influence of drugs and alcohol, of text messages filled with violent imagery, of a partner they claimed was manipulative and controlling. When Amber took the stand, she wept through stories of terror and humiliation. She spoke of broken bottles, slammed doors, and psychological torment. Her testimony was vivid, sometimes harrowing, and always deeply personal. Yet the trial was not confined to the courtroom. On social media, clips were edited, memes were born, and fans became warriors in a digital war. TikTok exploded with parodies of Amber's testimony. YouTube channels analyzed every facial twitch, every breath, every contradiction. Johnny became a symbol of male victimhood. Amber, to many, became a villain or a cautionary tale. But beneath the noise, the evidence painted a chaotic picture. Audio recordings revealed Amber admitting, "I was hitting you." Witnesses contradicted her claims. Others supported her side. Experts debated mental health diagnoses. Legal teams clashed in tense cross-examinations. The truth was slippery, blurred by fame, pride, and pain. Through it all, one fact remained undeniable. Both lives had been scorched by this relationship. Whether you believe Johnny, Amber, or neither, it was clear that something toxic had taken root between them. Something that no amount of public sympathy could cleanse. By the time closing arguments were delivered, the world wasn't sure if it was watching a trial or a tragedy. What had started as a legal dispute over an op-ed had become a cultural referendum. On gender, on power, on who gets believed. The final image of the courtroom was haunting. Johnny, calm but worn. Amber, tense and fragile. Two people once bound by love, now chained to each other through legal warfare and mutual destruction. Verdict and the shadows after. On June 1, 2022, the verdict dropped like a gavel on the world's collective conscience. Johnny Depp had won. The jury ruled that Amber Heard's op-ed was defamatory, awarding him $10 million in compensatory damages and 5